Poštovana pozorišna publiko, dragi ljubitelji teatra i umjetnosti uopšte, dobrodošli u Zetski dom i u Art Department, naš najnoviji način da vam približimo ono što ovdje radimo. Ideja i naša želja je zapravo da vam predstavimo kroz razgovor stvaraoce koji rade u Zetskom domu ili ovdje gostuju, da vam predstavimo ono, bliže predstavimo ono što će se dešavati na našoj sceni, ali i ono što obično ostane iza kulisa. Moj prvi sagovornik, naš prvi gost je reditelj koji radi na najnovijoj predstavi u Zetskom domu, Stub, soli, i to je Javor Gardev. Javor, thank you for being here and thank you for your time, since I know that you are working very intensely these days.
Yeah, thanks very much indeed. I really appreciate being at Zetski Dom, and especially because I like so much this building. Its architectural qualities very special, and it has a very special type of communication which I haven't seen anywhere else actually. It's a very close distance, and at the same time a depth that has very good stage quality. So communication wise, this is a thrilling thing, this is a challenging thing for me. And working with such actors in such space is really a pleasure and a challenge at the same time.
I'm glad you find it good and challenging.
Really.
Let's start with why you are here. So, Pillar of Salt is a play written by Aleksandar Radunović.
Yeah.
How did you become a part of this new project?
Well, this is a long story because we had the first intention for staging here with the previous artistic director of the theater, Lidija Dedović, back in 2019. So I had to stage a performance back then. But then the COVID pandemic happened, and all these plans were unfortunately just not possible to execute. And then there was a renewal of this offer, so to say, already 3.5 years ago. Almost 4 now, and there was this synopsis that actually I was sent by Lidija. This was a synopsis of intention by Aleksandar Radunović to write a play about a special kind of utopia, which is not exactly the definition of what utopia is, but kind of alternative utopia, which actually features ordinary people that choose the death as a solution to make sense of their own life, which actually thrilled me a lot, because this sounds a little bit morbid, and it is in a way, but in the same time it actually suggests a very interesting genre to work with, and that's why I had a little bit of a thinking about it, and then I just said that I'm really curious to do that, which was actually the first time in my career in which I decided to realize a project and to stage a play that hasn't been written yet. So
that was a risky
I was actually,
thing to do.
It was in a way risky and thrilling and challenging, and at the end it came to some kind of work in progress. So I received the play because there are actually a few plays, several plays there. So we have 4 miniatures, 4 plays on their own, but they're in a very intricate manner, they're connected. And this connection was also a real challenge for me, because you need to establish some connections that are on the level of imagination and not only of the level of declaration by words. And in the same time, it gives you an option for a genre that produces this alienation, estrangement effect, and that is also really interesting for me to work with and to challenge the actors with. So I think of this project as something really experimental in the role of the projects that I realized in the last years.
So where is it now, your project? How far have you come by this day?
Oh, we're facing the premiere in a few days.
Yeah.
So this is the final stage of rehearsals, and I think this was a very interesting experience that actually put me a little bit away of my usual ways, so to say. And I really appreciate the fact that this place hosted directors like Arpad Schilling, like Tomi Janežić, like Jernej Lorenzi. So people that actually work in a direction of the experiment and the theater that has not a routine way or some kind of mainstream tendency. So I think this is also a very good thing for Zetski Dom to have such directors, and I think this is the right place, especially in terms of stage and environment, to do such projects. So I'm really happy about it.
How do you think the audience will perceive your display?
I think that the audience would be also challenged because it is something that is very familiar to the audience on one side. I mean, in terms of dramaturgy and the characters, because these are familiar characters. Mm-hmm. But in the same time, these familiar characters, they are put in situations that are rather challenging and intricate. So it means that this estrangement effect that I talk about and the specific genre that we go into, which is somewhere in tragic comedy, I would say, because it has tragic aspects, but it also has this kind of absurd aspects that are finally really funny, would actually produce a special connection to a reality that seems very near, but is actually becoming distant. And by becoming distant, you have the option to look at your own world, the world you live in a more not, I wouldn't say distant, but in a different, estranged way, which is really important for me.
And what about the process, considering that you are working with actors through the third language?
Yeah.
So your native language is Bulgarian,
yes,
and ours is obviously Montenegrin. So, yeah. And you're using English the whole time.
Sure.
Mm. How does that work for you? Does it make your job more difficult?
Yes. It makes it much more difficult, but there's something that is a great advantage. I understand 90% of what's being said, which means in the beginning it was 70, now it is 90. And this is something that I already consider an advantage too, because going via third language actually makes the process more estranged itself. So the moment you can see yourself and the familiarity of our communication as a Balkan communication, so to say, can be estranged in some way, in this particular case by speech, by the language, that is also a plus in terms of genre. And this is why it's also a very good situation for me, because sometimes, you know, the director is really anxious about not being able to understand where the logical accent of a sentence or the meaning of the sentence is formed. But in my case, it's not like this, because I have certain experience with the Old Slavonic language. So the Slavic languages, I kind of understand to a certain extent, some more, some less. But here it is quite enough in order to be able to control the meaning, which means actually I have the estrangement and the proximity at once.
At the same time,
yeah. Which actually makes it really comfortable for me. In the beginning of the process, we started with the translator, via translator, which was also good, but at some point we just understood that while considering the knowledge of the actors, and they're very good speakers, English speakers, it's better to go this way and to leave like 10-15% not really understood enough, but we can explain all the time to each other. So for me, it was not as hard as it would have been if I didn't grasp the language at all.
Of course, but does it make you analyze the text even more when you're trying to find a common language common ground. But I was present once during the reading rehearsals,
Yeah.
and you talked with Vule
Yeah.
about some scene, and I just caught the moment where you said, I don't know how it works in English, does it work in your language? And I thought this can actually be quite useful, because language is always some kind of symbol for something. It always represents something. And now sometimes we just take it for granted.
Yeah.
If we're speaking the same language, we think we understand each other, even though we're not.
Yes.
And this way you have to analyze
Yeah.
even deeper.
Absolutely. You're right, and this is the greatest advantage, because actually when I work with the English text and I have parallel the text in Montenegrin, then I actually control the meaning.
Yeah.
But there is something else. I perceive the English performativity of the language in a different manner. This is why I'm asking from time to time if this sentence or this is performative enough in order to do this task with this particular
Yes,
sentence.
I understand.
So it's very much of analysis of performative abilities of this concrete language, and what you do with this and how it sounds, because sometimes you have the meaning only in English, but then you don't have the character that much, because it goes into something unified and it's more specific in Montenegrin. But it actually helps the estrangement effect too, because I'm not actually trying to recollect or construct a world which is the typical Balkan world, but to go in a way that actually makes you see this world from a different point of view, a strange one, that actually reduces only the meaning of it, but doesn't bring the colors and the character of it. It changes a little bit of the character. So this is also a proof if the play works and it is meaningful enough in universal terms. And I think in this case of ours, this was very interesting and intriguing, especially for me, because I also researched the performative abilities of certain speech constructions. And when I listen to them, I actually understand very well where the accent is and what should this be. I mean, I know every moment what the actors are doing now by speaking, which is a comfortable thing, because there are languages in which I couldn't do that, and that probably would be a problem.
I spoke a little bit with actors. They are all very pleased to work with you. Why is that so?
Probably because I am pleased to work with them too.
Yeah.
I mean, I am indeed. That's this is not something that you usually just have to say for the public relations of the theater. This is a pure fact in this particular case, and I think I found some time capsule in a way, or something that puts me in a very comfortable situation of being somehow in a semi-resort place, as Cetinje is, because it's a very specific place. You are not in the big city. The big cities are all around the place. They're very close. You can go there, but you're in a very particular environment. The theater has been a museum for such a long time, and it's so specific place that you actually interact with the past and interact with the imagination in the same time, and you're not actually bothered and distracted by the quality of the big city or the city that actually always distracts you. So for me it was kind of a artistic residence in a way.
That's interesting point of view.
Yeah, and it is really comfortable because this is something that I lack all the time in the last years.
So come more often.
Yeah, I would. I mean, let's see what's going to happen with this performance, but I think we set ourselves a goal that is difficult enough, challenging enough for everyone, and the most important for me, and I hope for them, because in this regard it's up to them to say, but to me it was also a very educational experience, because I'm somehow always in a research mode in my life anyway, and this particular research gave me much more, because you at once you have you have knowledge not only about the professional abilities of Montenegrin actors, but you have a whole reality synthesized, because you can travel a lot in a lot of countries and have the impression that you know them, but you only start to know them the moment you start to work with some people there and be in the real environment. And then if this work is also connected to the language, then you actually start to understand the culture from within and not from some kind of observation of a tourist, which is not really reliable. This thing is much more reliable, everyday communication with people. So communication-wise, to me, it was really fruitful.
You said that you're in constant research in your life. Let's give a little bit of a background to our audience. You also have a degree in philosophy.
Yes.
How do you think that it reflects your work?
Oh, it is, to me it is something that I would call rather interdisciplinary, because I never actually put a strong border between the things I'm doing. I'm always in an interdisciplinary mode. So it's anthropological research, and in the same time it's a psychological research about people you work with. And it's also a professional work that you do as a director, and all this combines, and the philosophy background and the cultural type of orientation and anthropological research attitude actually give me the whole field. So this is everything I work with, and to me it's not different from a director's profession, but it's rather helpful, and it actually makes it a whole field that interacts with both these spheres. So the moment I'm working on stage, I'm in a performative research of the performative abilities of a language that I don't know very well at the same time, and studying the cultural particularities of Montenegro, and then studying the cultural particularities of Cetinje. As you notice, I'm putting the accent in the right place in the same time. So it is really interesting to me, and challenging at all, and also finally satisfying, I would say.
We already on one occasion spoke about my next question, but I would really like for people to hear your answer.
Yeah.
I find it interesting, your job generally is like that, but especially when you come to a different country, work and then leave, you leave your creation to the actors, to either make it grow or deteriorate. How do you find this? Do you find this challenging as someone who created something and then just give it to someone to change it?
In this particular case, I think I will not have big worries about it, because in some cases you know that a work is kind of fragile, so to say, and its fragility can become a disaster in some cases if you're not there to exercise control or to re-rehearse it, so to say. But in this particular case, I think that it is actually now maturing, the performance, but it matures, according to my point of view, in a right way. So if it is matured enough, by the moment I leave, I won't have big disturbances about it, because it's simply because I know the people who are playing are reliable, and if they are reliable, I'm also kind of secured. I'm sure that it's not gonna go the wrong way. So it really depends what we're going to achieve these days, these last days, because the maturing is very important. It is really crucial, because whatever you may have achieved in rehearsals might turn worse or deteriorate in the performance. So if we achieve what I believe we are going to achieve, then I'm gonna be quite cool about it.
Then good luck with these last days of rehearsing. I'm really excited to see the premiere. Are you excited?
Oh yeah.
Thank you once again
I'm actually
for
excited to participate in making the premiere, not that much of seeing it, but you know that the parts that the director enjoys are actually before the premiere.
But we will have guests from Bulgaria, your family.
Oh, not only, yeah. There will be also other guests. There will be a few, and I don't know exactly who will come, but there will be a few people coming.
So
yeah.
high expectations.
Well, high expectations. I also have them, so they don't bother me. The high expectations are also with me.
So you put pressure on yourself. We don't have to put pressure on you.
Yes, I prefer to put it on myself sometimes, but at some point, well, this is how it is with the director's profession. At some point, you just leave the performance, and the performance has its own life, a life on its own. You cannot control it. And in that regard, I'm not that jealous, so to say. But it's very important to be sure that what you have achieved is something stable, and then you should really let it go on its own, because it's not anymore being controlled by you. And if you're jealous about it, or you always eager to exercise control over it, you may also spoil it. I'm kind of a person who lets go.
Good for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you once again for this conversation. I hope that the audience got a glimpse of who you are, and then they will enjoy your work even a little bit more.
I also hope so. Thank you.
Poštovani gledalci, hvala vam. Ja se nadam da ćemo mi u nekom trenutku da ugostimo i Aleksandra Radunovića, da bismo mogli da čujemo i tu perspektivu dramaturšku, ili nekoga ko je napisao tekst, koji ćete imati prilike da gledate, i nadam se da se vidimo 13. februara na reprizi.